Major funding for Carolina Business Review is provided by Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle-market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant Health, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. And by Sonoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries.
So, what can we learn about the direction of this economic recovery from this year's consumer behavior, especially here in retail's consequential fourth quarter? Welcome again to the most widely watched source for Carolina business and public policy. Happy holidays. I'm Chris William, and thank you so much for supporting this program. This week, the scions and leaders of the Belk retail empire, Tim and Johnny Belk.
Major funding also by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, healthcare, rural churches, and children's services. And by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Who's responsible for rising healthcare costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. This edition of Carolina Business Review was recorded December 7th, 2012. On this week's program, Thomas M. Belk, Jr., Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Belk, Inc., and John R. Belk, President and Chief Operating Officer of Belk, Inc. Now, Chris William.
Hello, welcome to our program. Happy holidays. Johnny, Tim, welcome. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you both. Tim, congratulations. Seems like fourth quarter's going pretty well. Released your third quarter numbers, and it looks like you've got a head of steam and you've got some momentum. How do you read the tea leaves from that, Tim? Do you think that fourth quarter is going to be better than last year during this retail season, and is that going to extend for you in 2013?
We're seeing it pretty steady, Chris, surprisingly. There are a few clouds on the horizon. The physical cliff, people are worried about that. Mm-hmm. Slowing economies abroad, but we've seen pretty steady first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. They've been fairly similar, and so we're planning fourth quarter the same. And I'll tell you, after Thanksgiving was stronger than that. It was surprisingly good.
You know, we were talking offline, and it wasn't even before this program, but we had talked a little bit about that, and you made the point, and I hadn't even thought of this, that an early Thanksgiving does make a difference. Is that how do you build that into your modeling to say, okay, if we're here, third quarter did this, we can expect fourth quarter to do that? Does an early Thanksgiving, it seems like we've got Black Friday, now Cyber Monday, and then people are broke on Tuesday. And I know that's a little bit of an extreme, but how does all that play into how you think about this?
It was certainly good from a digital point of view. So online business was, I think, helped a lot by that. But I think the reason why business was good after Thanksgiving was due to items, and people are looking for value, and so if you've got the right items, people came out, and shoes was a real driver of the business for us. We had a boot at $19.99, and they went wild. They were there at midnight.
It was a great kickoff, really, to the Christmas season.
Did that surprise you?
It did surprise us. It was strong. There are a lot of people out shopping online and in store, and it seems positive for fourth quarter.
Do you worry, Johnny, that it's front end loaded here? That if folks came out of the gate that quickly, that they're not pacing themselves, that they might kind of.
Well, you asked a little bit about how do you plan for that?
Yeah.
Because it's a longer period of time, we will see a lull in the middle of the Christmas shopping season. But as we get to the end, we get a full weekend of shopping. This year's Christmas moves out against last year. Mm-hmm. And consumer confidence is steady, it's positive. I think that the consumer is back, and we feel good about Christmas.
You know, Belk, and give me a little latitude here for kind of speaking for you a little bit, and please do correct me, but you're looking at the lens a little bit differently now. You've got a new brand that you boldly rolled out. You've got 3 or 3.5 years so into an economic recovery. Mm-hmm. So how do you look at not just planning retail sales, Tim, but how do you look at just planning store growth, planning strategic growth, planning not just the buying of the product, but how do you look at running this enterprise different than your Uncle John and your father did?
Well, those are big, broad questions, and I don't think of it kind of in that big, bold manner. But I would say that there's more uncertainty in the economy, and it's been that way since we came out of the recession. Mm-hmm. There have been clouds on the horizon. Will we slip back into the recession? Will there be a shock from abroad or from another source? And so we're going to live with some uncertainty. We're going to live with a little volatility. And I think you have to prepare yourself for operating in that environment. And we think it's a good environment in which to invest. And so we have been investing in a pretty aggressive way. We've been investing in new stores and in remodels. We're updating our stores, trying to get them on a more regular schedule and make them more productive. And we're also investing heavily in technology because that's where retail's going. That's something that we could talk about. But we're investing in several areas to really strengthen the foundation of the business so that we can build upon it.
So how do you take the view? You mentioned the fiscal cliff. So we've got this whatever this thing is hanging out here and how that's going to end up being. But you also have the specter of more regulation. What does that mean? How do we navigate through that? Does that change the way that you model going forward?
Well, we haven't been hit by regulation that much, so that's not too much of a
consumer
factor
protection, anything
for us.
Yeah.
But I think one way of helping yourself in this environment is taking some of the risk out of it is to strengthen your balance sheet so that you operate with less leverage. Mm-hmm. And so, not everybody is in that position, but it helps to try to lower your debt and, manage the risk.
Mm-hmm. John?
We've got fairly aggressive plans, but at the same time, we know there's a lot of uncertainty out there, so we're doing a lot of scenario planning, trying to anticipate the risks that we may encounter and develop mitigating strategies.
What are the risks that you see out that are hanging out there? The what-if strategies.
The most obvious is what happens with the fiscal cliff. Mm-hmm. Do we go back in a recession? Does the consumer continue to purchase the way they have? So we try to develop different financial scenarios and think through consequences of that and be prepared for different scenarios we could encounter.
One of the things that talked about at the top of the program was that certainly same-store sales look good, but also the whole idea that recently you announced adding 150 head count specific at the corporate store or at the corporate headquarters in Charlotte, and it's going to be a lot of it has to do with your e-commerce part, I'm assuming. How does now that you've got some runway behind you on e-commerce and you can see some real track record, how has that cannibalized or added to the individual store sales?
I think that's a very good question. We see it as additive. It's been accretive to our store sales because so many people today are going online and then coming in store. There are some people that are going online and buying online, but many of those people are going online to get their information, to get better informed, and make some of their decisions before they go in store to buy. So it is adding to our store business. In the industry they call it, how much does e-commerce influence store sales?
Is that? Do you find that I don't want to call it a phenomenon, but do you find that dynamic seems to be better at Belk than some of your competitors, or do you have that research?
I don't think we really know to what degree our customers are online more often than our competitors before they go in store. We know that our digital business as a percent of total is lower at Belk today than some of our competitors, and we want to close that gap. We're playing catch up, and so that's what we've been working really hard on.
We've done some studies, and we've learned that for every dollar that's spent online through our internet site, about $6 is influenced in store.
Really?
And so
Was that surprising to you, Johnny?
no, not really, because the internet is really the face of Belk. A lot of people choose to shop through the website, but they're also gathering information about stopping through a store, and so they learn a lot about Belk, and it helps their shopping experience as they go in. But a lot of people are choosing to buy online. The rate of growth of the internet site is tremendous, and as Tim mentioned, we're behind, so our rate of growth is ahead of other people, but the amount of business we're doing on our website is behind. So we are working really hard to build out that experience and be thoughtful about how do you take the internet experience into the store, really is what our near-term future is about.
You know, I want to come back to that, because that really is a very interesting. How do you take the internet experience when the internet experience was meant to address people in their slippers at home when they could kind of do their shopping? Next week on our program, we will keep the dialogue about retail. Howard Levine from Family Dollar Stores will be here. And then following that, a two-part series that we always do right at the end of the year and right at the beginning of the year. We actually have 4 economists who, imagine this, don't always agree on everything, but it's certainly a lively discussion, and it will be. So coming back to this whole idea, is the goal of the Belk online experience to sell in the stores or to grow the top line that comes online only? Is that, would you rather have people going to the website, buying there, having shipped there, and certainly taking the returns back in store, but what's the strategy?
Well, I think we really look to the customer first, and how she wants to shop is how we want her to shop. And so many of our customers want to buy online. Many of our customers will buy online and also shop in the store. Some primarily like the store. They'll learn, they'll gather information about products and services and bring it in store. Mobility is becoming a big issue today because they can bring their smartphones into our stores. They can shop on their iPads, a lot of different ways. So the consumer's gaining a lot more information and power, and we want to be ready and service her however she wants to shop.
And I'll add to
Please
that.
do.
Technology's put the customer in control, and we are trying to catch up with her. We're investing a lot to do that, and I would say to you that our thinking has evolved sort of through 3 phases. One is we were trying to accelerate the growth of our e-commerce business. Then we realized that we had to grow multiple channels, e-commerce, mobile, now iPad, and in-store. And that has evolved to a 3rd phase, which is called omnichannel, which is how do we allow the customer to move seamlessly among each of those channels. And that's requiring a lot of investment in the business, a lot of technology, and a different kind of skill and background.
Is that more of an upfront investment than you all were expecting? That type of a lot more front end to get to that?
It's significant.
Yeah. I would suspect that many of your colleagues probably in the industry say the same thing. Let me come back to the other thing. You talk about the store and the folks that work in the store, the traditional floor salesperson that you have in all the Belk stores. And it seems like that's changed. You've, through this kind of this economic upheaval, the demographic of the person selling in the store is a higher educated person now. You've got college degreed folks on the floor. Not that there's anything wrong with not getting a college degree, but you've got a lot of more of that demographic. So consequently, and I know I'm not telling you anything, you've got this smarter person, more creative, more socially connected. How do you wrangle this person and bring them into the fold, allow them to be creative, take their ideas? I guess, how do you manage this new worker in retail?
You want to take that one?
Sure. We just got back from a couple of days on the road talking to store associates and asking them how we can help them better service the customer, and it was really interesting. And the last question we asked them was, you get one wish, what would you like us to do for you to help make your job better? And most of them said, we need better technology in the store. So they're asking us for that. They want it, they know how to use it, and they want to be able to service their customers better. And so that would be one of the more predominant things.
For instance, like what kind of technology, Johnny?
Well, they mobile
A social app of some sort?
social app, training opportunities, clienteling type opportunities online, accessing the internet from it within our stores, Wi-Fi within the store. So they're fairly savvy. As you said, they're more educated, and they're asking us for better technology in the store to serve the customers.
How do you allow this creativity in this new worker? How do you let that bubble up? And this seems like a reoccurring question we have on this program, and that is when you run an organization, you own an organization, and you've got folks down in the organization that have great ideas. How do you encourage them to share that idea without a risk of any kind of appraisal with, oh, you know, that's just crazy, that's a stupid idea, or just get back to work? And I'm over paraphrasing here a bit.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the
Yeah.
innovation?
Well, I think one thing is what Johnny said is you've got to go and ask, and so you've got to set the example and ask for their opinions, but you've got to also do it systematically. And we are working hard on building out innovation as a skill set in our company, and we've looked hard at our culture. We've looked at our strengths and weaknesses, and so as we've looked at this different retail world where technology is important and it's changing things rapidly, we want to encourage risk-taking, and we want to get our associates to come forward with new ideas and have no fear about doing that. And so we are working hard on teaching people about innovation. We've appointed a person head of innovation, a VP. That person reports to me. It's hard work. It's cultural change. We've put in a design portal where any person can submit an idea, and any person can vote on the ideas that are submitted in the portal. And the ideas that get more votes move up through a progression, and we test those ideas. So we're working hard on that. It's an exciting new venture for us.
So how does that innovative thinking, Tim, and allowing that to kind of bloom, if you will, in the organization, how does that interact with the corporate social responsibility of the Belk organization? How does that feed that, and how does the CSR feed the innovative part of the employees? And it's a little ethereal, but I think you...
So what do you mean by CSR?
Corporate social responsibility. How does what the corporate social responsibility DNA of what Belk Stores has staked out to say, this is what we care about, this is what we're going to do, but we've got this initiative, or then we've got this dynamic of the employee here feeding into that. What does that look like?
Well, and we believe getting involved in our community is a good business strategy, and it dates back to our grandfather. So in that sense, if that's one of the examples of corporate social responsibility, we feel like it's a good business strategy. If we can get involved in our communities, encourage our people to get out and get involved, help the communities grow, we'll benefit in the process. And so that's one of our 6 core values, and we would like to we'd like to encourage innovation around that. How can that happen? And I'll give you a good example.
Please.
Recently we announced a mobile mammography, and it'll look like a bus with a shoe painted on it, and it's going to go around to each of our 184 markets, and customers as well as associates can go in and use the services of that. So that's just an example of trying something different, getting out there. But I would say the same thing applies to other types like sustainability. And sustainability is, people perceive it to be social responsibility, but it could be a win-win for a business, because as you recycle more, you generate less waste, you generate less expense. It's a win on the income statement, and it's a win for the environment.
And CNN did this study about that, and among many things, it showed that new workers want to work for, quote unquote, the good guys. So when you talk about social responsibility, they don't want to just work for the good guys, but they also want to be involved as a good guy in doing that. So I guess, Tim, the question is, or Johnny, either one of you, where do you see employees kind of being drawn to? Is it volunteering on the bus? Is it saying, you know, this bus is a good idea, but maybe we could also do X with the bus? How does that draw your employees out? How do you draw your employees in?
To jump in.
Yeah.
One thing we did do around how do we give back to the communities, and you can call it corporate social responsibility, we asked them what do they care the most about. And so one thing that they came back was around women's health and breast cancer. awareness. So Tim talked a little bit about the mammography unit, which will go around to many of our markets in North and South Carolina and Tennessee. But they're also doing a lot on the local level to raise money to help out prevent this around breast cancer and build that awareness level. We also do a corporate sale called Charity Day that just happened in November, where we allow charitable organizations to sell tickets, and they'll also come into the store on non-store hours and offer real great values for the customer, but the charitable organizations get involved with our associates in selling those tickets. I think we raised around $5 million this past fall around that Charity Day sale. So that's another way we get them engaged with the charitable organizations.
Does that give Belk a competitive advantage? And I'm sure you're not doing it for this, but do you see that kind of social responsibility gives you a competitive advantage among those workers or among your customers?
I think it definitely does.
Yeah.
Because people really care about helping other people out. And if you help them carry out that passion, they're clearly more engaged, and you get alignment between their interests and the company's interests. It's really powerful.
And another thing for you, Chris, in your earlier question, younger people coming to work, I think that they're thinking, do I want to work at this organization or that organization? And if you're not supporting sustainability, if you don't have a program, I think they're going to kind of go, okay, I may go somewhere else, or this may not be where I want to work. They just won't connect. So I think they're expecting that of their employers today. So if you want talent, you've got to show well there. And so that's one thought that I would just put out there for you. And then another one is we've been working hard on branding. And so we're looking to what next. How do we build on this branding position? And we went and asked our customers and our associates about that question. And one of the things we were surprised to find was that most of our customers didn't know that we were involved in the community. They told us they didn't know that we were involved in the community, that we were Southern-based, or that we were family-owned. So
did that surprise you?
That really surprised me. That rocked me.
Did you assume that they did know that?
We assumed that, and so we've decided we've got to get that word out there. And the great thing about that is that if they know that, they will like us more. So we'd like to get that word out, and we feel like they'll be more loyal as a result, for example.
I'm a little taken back by that. It would seem like it's certainly in the South with a chain like Belk that has been in major markets, but also a lot of the medium and even small markets. That would be in the DNA of a lot of these communities, and they would have grown up with that. So
there are a lot of people that have moved here that don't know. And Johnny,
the
what would you say?
South has changed.
Yeah,
we
have a lot of people.
Please don't tell me that.
Yeah. The modern Southern woman.
Yeah, which, you talk about, and we've literally got 2 minutes left. So you went through the branding. Bold move. I give you high marks for it. And I know you weren't trying to get my approval, but the lowercase b, the modern, the Southern, the style, all saying something there. What would you change about starting that? Maybe what wouldn't you change? What are you pleased about it? And we have a couple minutes to talk about this in.
I think it connected really well, so that was great. And since we've gone in time past that, we've realized that not all parts of our brand, not all of the experiences that customers have with Belk are equally good. And so we've got some parts of our branding that aren't as strong as we'd like. The fitting rooms in our stores, for example, are something that have come out in this sort of follow-on study where we've learned more about what our customers are saying. So there are a number of parts. The foyer entrances to our stores, how well does that represent the brand? And we've got to do a better job of explaining to all of our associates, how do you live the brand? How does that translate into your everyday work life?
Guys, we are out of time, but thank you so much for taking time. I know it's difficult to get you two in a room together because you are traveling so much, but thank you, Johnny.
It's great being here, Chris.
Thank you. Tim,
thanks,
good to
Chris.
see you. Thank you. Thank you for watching our program. Until next week, we hope all your business is good and that you have, of course, a happy holiday. Good night.
Major funding for Carolina Business Review was provided by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, healthcare, rural churches, and children's services. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Who's responsible for rising healthcare costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant Health, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. Sunoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Promotional consideration provided by Business North Carolina Magazine. For more information, visit carolinabusinessreview.com.